Am I the a-hole for telling my dad and stepmom their home isn't my home? My parents had me, and pretty soon after they divorced. My parents' divorce was not amicable. I, 16 female, don't know all the details obviously, but I know that bad blood exists on both sides. And if you want my suspicions, I think they divorced so badly because my dad wanted to set up his own business, but my mom didn't want that to happen right after me. My dad owns his own business. Actually, he owned two, and the first one he had to close up. The first one he started right after the divorce, which is why I suspect what I do. My dad also complained once or twice that mom never supported him. So there are issues between my parents. When I'm with my mom, you would never know it. She does not vent about dad, badmouth him, or try to hide the fact they were married and had me together. She has some photos of us before the divorce in our living room, among the rest of the family photos. And while I have issues with my stepdad and he's not my favorite person ever, he has never complained or tried to erase the fact he married a woman who had a kid with someone else. He never got that part wrong despite our issues. But my dad's house is so very different. It got worse after he married my stepmom. I'm not supposed to mention my mom at all. They don't let me have anything there that my mom bought. Even my favorite plushie that mom bought me as an infant. I can't have a single photo of my mom or my half-siblings on her side. I used to have a little pinboard of photos, and my dad and stepmom went into my room in the past and removed all traces of mom. My stepmom even said she burned the photos of mom. They have told me in their house they do not want to see my mom, and my room is not a compromise. So, of course, I don't like being here. I spend 50% of my time here, and no, the courts won't let me stop coming, and they would punish my mom if I stop, and the judge told my mom if she does not force me to go and stay, she would pay. After our last attempt a few months ago, Dad started telling me I don't treat my room like my room, or I don't act like it's my home. He asked me why I wanted to leave our home. On Sunday, my dad and stepmom told me I act like I'm a guest in their house instead of part of the family, and that it's my home. I told them it's not my home, it's their home. I told them I can't mention my mom or keep a photo of her in my room. I can't do whatever I want with my room like they claim, so no, all of that means this was never my home. I told them I am a guest here half my life, and that's all I will ever be. They told me I was being melodramatic, and my stepmom called me manipulative. Am I the a-hole?
Not the a-hole. They need to know how you feel because of what they've created. At 16, do the courts not allow you to have a say in where you spend your time? Maybe when custody was first agreed, you may not have gotten a say, but it might be worth asking your mom if it can be looked into. And have you spoken with your mom about the situation and how it's affecting you? Your dad and stepmom are creating a really negative space for you, and it's not healthy.
We were in court only a few months ago. I do not get to decide at 16. I know many places let people my age decide, but our judges are a lot more focused on making sure custody remains the same until kids are 18.
That's really crappy. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with this. P.S. them calling you melodramatic is just them trying to dismiss your feelings, and I suspect your stepmom calling you manipulative is her projecting because I think it's clear who the manipulative one is.
Not the a-hole. Of course that isn't your home. Home is where you feel loved and safe to be yourself. It's where you're supposed to let your walls down and relax. But how can you possibly do that when you have to constantly police your own words to avoid mentioning your mom? Your dad and stepmom seem to think you can just leave a massive part of yourself and your world on the doorstep of their home once you enter. You're not even allowed a childhood plushie that brings you comfort because it happened to be purchased by your mom 16 years ago. Your bedroom there probably feels like a hotel room, except even hotel rooms let you have trinkets that remind you of home. The level of absurdity is immeasurable. How you feel is 100% valid. It's not melodramatic. They shouldn't ask questions they're not prepared to deal with when answered. They should be asking how they can help you feel like it's your home. not blaming a child for feeling detached.
When I was reading it, I was really sad that they don't seem to understand that her mom is still in her life and that what they're asking is to sever that part of her when living with them. And to be honest, what did they expect? They're literally pushing her away because this kid can see the drastic changes between the two living conditions.
Not the a-hole. You're absolutely right. Not your problem that they can't see it. If they spent less time hating on your mom and more time trying to build a relationship with you, maybe things could be different. My stepmom even said she burned the photos of mom. This is not normal behavior, by the way.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to make a cookie table for my son's wedding? My son is marrying Wendy, and the wedding is this summer. She is not close to her own mother for multiple reasons and is pushing hard to have me fill in the gap. I am not comfortable with it at all, especially with how hard she is pushing. She has multiple times overstepped boundaries, such as inviting herself along, discussing very personal issues, very touchy, etc. Due to these issues, we are not close, and my own daughters are not a huge fan of hers. She asked me this week if I would make the cookie table for the wedding. It is something the bride's own mother would do with other female relatives. This is the first time hearing about this tradition, and I did some research. I would have to make over 1,000 cookies from scratch to feed the wedding guests. I asked my daughters if they wanted to do it, and it was a strong no. I informed her that I cannot do it, it is way too much work and I don't have the time. She told me okay, and I thought that was it. My son called me up and told me I am a huge jerk, that Wendy has been crying about it and I should step up. I am still refusing to do it. Am I the a-hole? Edit comment questions. Did daughter-in-law tell me the number? Yes, she stated 1,000 to 1,200. What about family helping? She isn't close to her family, so her side is out. My parents are in a home. I am an only child. My husband has a sister, and I doubt she wants to help. Daughter don't wish to, so it would basically be me.
Not the a-hole? Over 1,000 cookies?
It's never one person makes 1,000 cookies. It's all the women on both sides each bring their signature cookie or bring a bakery's signature cookie. In large families, this usually ends up in the 1,000s. For smaller families or families with fewer bakers, it's maybe a few dozen.
That makes more sense, but she isn't in contact close with her family, and my daughters don't wish to do it. My son is the groom. So it would be basically just me making a ton of cookies.
Not the a-hole, but you are a little misinformed and cold. Born and raised Pittsburgher here. The cookie table does not replace the cake. It is for the period before the meal and during the reception. Also, mom typically coordinates the cookies with family and friends. She doesn't have to do them all herself. And store-bought/bakery are fine. Wendy may not be your cup of tea, but she is the center of your son's universe. If you want to stay a part of his life, you better loosen the bone and unwad your panties. Be forgiving, be patient, be understanding with her. She is trying to build a loving relationship with you and the rest of her spouse's family. If you don't, you will be on the outside, looking in when grandkids happen. Suck it up, apologize, and offer to coordinate the cookie table. You'll be glad you did.
Other family members don't want to participate. How is OP supposed to coordinate that?
There's over 250 guests and no one else can contribute? And there's this many guests despite the fact that both OP and daughter-in-law don't have much family? Something isn't adding up in OP's story. Also, frankly, if OP's daughters simply refuse to buy a box of 30 cookies for this one, ask of a common wedding tradition. No wonder the daughter-in-law is upset. You coordinate that by telling your daughters, hey, this is important to her. Let's just each contribute a few. Unfortunately, OP sounds really cold and judgmental about OP not having a family and trying to be close.
Do people ever think and compromise on Reddit? It's a cookie table. Set up a table. One of her bridesmaids, her fiance, sends a note to every family couple coming and asks them to bring a dozen cookies. We did this for a friend who got married in Pittsburgh. We got homemade, store-bought, cupcakes, brownies, and since I don't bake fudge, no one cared it wasn't all homemade. It was fun, and everyone got a nice selection for their gift bag.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to see more interesting videos.